OpenAI makes about $25 billion a year. It has signed commitments to spend $1.4 trillion on computing power. That is not a typo. The spending plan is roughly 50 times the revenue. Someone here is either very right or very wrong. Today we find out which. Welcome back to New Wealth. Last episode, we reverse-engineered a company that loses money on content and makes it back in chocolate. Today, a company that makes more money than almost any startup in history and burns it faster than any company ever. Here's what almost everyone gets wrong about OpenAI. They argue about whether it's overhyped or underhyped. Wrong question. OpenAI is running a very old playbook at a scale nobody's ever attempted. Spend ahead of demand, own the infrastructure, and make your cost structure the moat. Rockefeller did it with refineries, Amazon did it with warehouses, OpenAI is doing it with computing power. By the end of this video, you'll know where the 25 billion actually comes from, where the trillion plus actually goes, and the 3 signals that tell you whether any AI company, including this one, is a fortress or a bonfire. Worth saving. You'll use the checklist for years. Quick context, because the scale only registers with the timeline. 2015, OpenAI launches as a non-profit research lab. For 7 years it produces papers, demos, and almost no revenue. Then, November 2022, ChatGPT. The fastest adopted consumer product in history, 100 million users in 2 months. By late 2025, Sam Altman is quoting roughly 800 million weekly users. 1 in 10 humans every week. Now watch the revenue line, because there's nothing like it in business history. 2024, about 3.7 billion. End of 2025, around 13 billion. By early this year, a run rate of roughly 25 billion. The revenue is not the controversy. Revenue is tripling and then doubling. The controversy is what's happening underneath it. The company loses roughly $1.20 for every dollar it earns. And unlike Mr. Beast's $80 million content loss, this hole is measured in tens of billions. Which raises the obvious question, where is it all going? That's the blueprint. Side 1 of the ledger, where the money comes in. Engine 1, subscriptions. ChatGPT, Plus, Pro, Team, Enterprise. Recurring, predictable, consumer scale. The largest subscription software product ever built by user count. This is OpenAI's Feastables, the proven boring converter of attention into cash. Engine 2, the API. Every startup, bank, and Fortune 500 that builds on GPT models pays per token. When other companies grow, OpenAI's meter runs. It's a tax on the AI economy. Engine 3, the new surfaces, video generation, agents that do work instead of chat, enterprise deals, and the beginnings of advertising and commerce inside ChatGPT. Early, but this is where the next tripling is supposed to come from. Side 2, where the money goes out and why the number is $1 trillion. Training frontier models costs billions per generation. Serving 800 million weekly users costs billions more per year in inference. But the headline is the forward commitments, over $500 billion in disclosed cloud capacity across providers, the $500 billion Stargate data center project with Oracle and SoftBank, and in total, up to $1.4 trillion of computing commitments over roughly 8 years. Understand what that is strategically. OpenAI is trying to corner compute the way Rockefeller cornered refining capacity. If intelligence becomes the world's most valuable commodity, the company that pre-bought the factories wins everything. If it doesn't, those commitments become the largest pile of fixed obligations in corporate history. Now the consolidated picture and the valuation math that either makes this genius or madness. Losses. The company's own projections, reported by Fortune in November 2025, show stunning annual losses through 2028. Cash burn around $27 billion this year, $63 billion next, and then, the claim, wildly profitable by 2030. That's the pitch. A 5-year tunnel, fortress on the other side. The market keeps buying it. March 2025, $300 billion valuation. October 2025, $500 billion in a secondary sale. And after the latest round, $122 billion raised, the largest private raise ever, the company is valued at roughly $850 billion. For context, that's more than JP Morgan, at a company still losing money on every dollar. Why do sophisticated investors keep paying? Same three-part logic we saw with Beast Industries, scaled 1000x. 1. The growth rate. Nothing this large has ever grown this fast. 2. The proof engine. Subscriptions, recurring and sticky. 3. The moat thesis. If you believe compute is the bottleneck, the trillion in commitments isn't recklessness, it's the entire strategy. The bet isn't on chatbots, it's on owning the supply chain of intelligence. 3 signals, and you can use them on any AI company, public, private, or your own. Signal 1. Separate the revenue quality from the burn. Recurring subscriptions at massive scale are collateral. One-off hype revenue is not. OpenAI's base is genuinely strong. When you evaluate any AI business, ask what survives if the hype stops tomorrow. Signal 2. Watch the commitments to revenue ratio. OpenAI has committed roughly 50 times its annual revenue. That only works with a distribution lock, 800 million weekly users. And even then, it's a knife's edge. A startup copying the spend-ahead playbook without the lock isn't building a moat. It's building a bonfire. Signal 3. Fixed costs are a bet on the future's shape. Every dollar of committed compute assumes demand keeps compounding. If AI demand plateaus even briefly, obligations don't plateau with it. This is the exact mechanism that broke the telecoms in 2001. Fiber everywhere, demand late by 5 years. The technology was right, the timing bankrupted them anyway. The quiet takeaway for your own portfolio and your own business: the winners of capital-intensive races are decided by staying power, not by being right. Being early and leveraged is indistinguishable from being wrong. So which is it, fortress or bonfire? The honest answer: the numbers support both stories, and that's precisely why this is the most important balance sheet on Earth right now. If the 2030 profitability claim lands, this was the greatest infrastructure bet since Standard Oil. If demand stumbles, the unwinding will make the dot-com crash look polite. There is no boring outcome. Your question for the comments, and I want actual reasoning, not vibes. Profitable by 2030, yes or no? Best argument gets pinned. Save this one: the 3-signal checklist applies to every AI company you'll evaluate for the next decade. Next episode: forget companies, we run the numbers on you. What net worth actually makes you rich, middle class, or poor in 2026? The answer surprised me. Subscribe so it finds you.